From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.
What's up, world? It's the one and only Pop DBICD Primetime Capper. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling great. I hope you are feeling the same. And yeah, it is what it is. It's a new day. It's a new way. And pretty much I would say this, yes, that is very true. Jimmy guaranteed victory, and they did get it. Everybody can't lie and say that there's some geniuses this morning and say that they knew the whole time the Heat were going to win yesterday, because literally it was a consensus that the Celtics will win the game. Celtics are at home. Celtics have just came back from a 3-0 deficit, and everything was pointing towards the Celtics win. You know what I mean? But the Heat were having none of that. The Heat still remember what happened last year in Miami. It was heartbreak. It was definitely heartbreak. But let's all remember one thing, though. They had to force that Game 7 in Boston. So that team being comfortable in Boston is nothing. It should not surprise anybody. Literally, they played 8 times in Boston. They played, I think, 7 times in Boston the last few years. I think they've only lost to them twice. So that was huge. That was big, because that game yesterday really went to the side of, it really went left, in my opinion. I just really feel like, the Celtics just really, really, really kind of put a damper on their legacy as a great franchise as well, too. I think this right here is something that has to really wake up the front office, and there's no way that they don't bust this team up now. Because I just don't think that it's working the way that they think it works. I think that Jason Tatum's a great player. I think Jaylen Brown's a great player. I just think that it's the end of the road for these guys together. They'll be better when they're on different teams. Well, our Tatum's in Boston with his boys, and Brown's over somewhere with his boys. But if they are to stay together, that would be good too. But they're gonna have to figure this thing out. They may need another veteran to be in there as the mediator, somewhat, keeping these guys in check. We can all keep it real. Al Horford is literally done. He's through. Last night kind of showed that as well too. So pretty much, man, there's just a lot of things that you look at with this Boston team, and you say to yourself, they had so many opportunities to really just ice this series away. They messed up in games 1 and 2. They made it to where Miami believed, and Miami believed enough to know that, okay, we could lose these 3 games in a row, but it doesn't matter. They stayed with the mantra. You got to win 4 to win the series. And I know that I looked really, really bad yesterday because I said Celtics by a dozen. This should be easy. I even had the 11.5 alternate line yesterday as well, too. So, I can own that. I messed up. I really, truly did think that Miami was through. I thought that this was going to be me having a conversation about a great game that the Celtics won last night, and we will be talking about, game 1 with the Nuggets. But that's not what happened. So you have to go ahead and commend the winners. And the Heat were the winners of this game. The Heat were awesome yesterday. Caleb Martin was incredible. If you guys don't know who Caleb Martin is a part of the Martin twins. The Martin twins, I thought, were better college basketball players than the Morris twins. Morris twins had the exception, though, because they played on Kansas and they won a national championship in the process as well, too. So, a lot of people will notice them a little bit more. The Martin Twins had their Nevada Wolfpack as a top 5 team their final year at the school, and they played it, I think, in the Elite Eight as well too, and we're a few moments away from actually making the Final Four. So this team was legit, but that's exactly who Jimmy Butler needed to help him yesterday, because they had 5 guys in double figures, but they had 2 guys that did the bulk of the scoring, and one of them was Jimmy Butler, and the other one was Caleb Martin. But Bam had himself a game yesterday as well, too. He almost had a triple-double, 12, 10, 7, which was instrumental. And then Vincent and Duncan Robinson were huge as well, too. And Kyle Larry was just a great leader. He actually was the leader in the plus and minus category for them last night, for everybody last night, with plus 26. So this was a great team effort last night from the Miami Heat. The Miami Heat, a much deserved win last night. This is how you win in a playoff that has no predictability. I'm telling you right now, this was a very unpredictable playoff, but we thought it was more on the west side of things. The Western Conference was pretty much cut and dry, that nobody was better than the Denver Nuggets, but the Eastern Conference was the conference that had the parity to it, because when you look at it, the first seed and the third seed were totally out of the playoffs by the time we got to the conference finals. Okay, then you had your 4th seed get put out in the first round as well too. You had your 5th seed get put out in the second round by 8th seed. It was topsy-turvy with this group. But one thing that they can't say is bragging rights all go to Florida right now. You have had the Miami Hurricanes play in the Final Four, also assisted by the Florida Atlantic University in their greatest moment ever, playing in Final Four as well too. You also have the Florida Panthers, who have been a lowly franchise for a very long time. They're playing in the Stanley Cup as well, and they got games back to back for like a whole week in Miami as well too. I think they're all sharing the same arena as well. So it's going to be a lot of fun in South Florida these next few weeks with their hockey teams and their NBA teams doing what they got to do to be, the next world champions, So it seems like it's a South Florida show, because we got some more to talk about in a moment. We're going to talk about the Dolphins when we get into football. But let's talk about the series, though. The series itself is a good one. You got first look at the Heat and Nuggets in the final. So you have the Nuggets, who have been off since last – how long have the Nuggets been off? The Nuggets have been off, I think, since last Monday, from what I remember. Yeah, they've been off since last Monday. So pretty much they have had themselves a week off. They'll be back Thursday. So that makes it to where they had a good 10 days off straight up, and that's good for the Nuggets, because the rest and recovery for this team that didn't really have to do too much. Well, they probably did have to play their toughest 4 games of the playoffs against the Lakers. Even though they swept, those games were really tough. In other games, they were able to just manhandle teams, and the game was over with. That happened with Minnesota. That happened with Phoenix as well, too. But it did not happen with the Lakers. The Lakers and the Nuggets were going back and forth in each game. It's just that the Nuggets just had a little bit more than the Lakers at the end of all those games to get those victories. And the Nuggets have proven that they're the best team in the league. Boston and Milwaukee share pretty much the best records in the league. Philadelphia is right there in the mix too, because Denver has the 4th best record in the league. So if Boston would have won, they would have had to go play in Boston. So the Nuggets get the home court advantage, rightfully so, because they deserve the home court advantage. They've been the best team in the playoffs. If we just judged it on who's the best team in the playoffs, it should go to Denver. Straight up, Denver is the toughest team in the playoffs. But the toughest team in reality, though, is the Miami Heat. The Miami Heat literally became America's team last night with that effort that they had against the Boston Celtics. Let's keep it real. Everybody and their mama is going to want to jump all over the line when it comes to the Miami Heat. The Miami Heat are a 12-1 to win this game at 7, but you get a 4-1 when you have guys who can eat 4-1 if you have the Nuggets winning in 7. This series is going to be one that's going to be incredible from what I'm seeing, in my opinion. It's just going to be a lot of really fun things, and I think when you look at the series, the actual series, the futures for the series, you got a 3-1 on the Miami Heat. You might want to jump in on that, to be honest with you. That might be something that you look at and say to yourself, hey, I like that 3-1. That minus 400 might be a little bit too much. And right now, you could still get, I'm looking at Bovada. The Nuggets were 5-1 to win the NBA championship. The Miami Heat were 25-1 to win the NBA championship. This is all updated stuff as we got into the playoffs. And this is absolutely great value on the team. And it's crazy because the Nuggets still weren't the number one team. It was Boston. Boston was considered the NBA champions this year. Like, I don't know why, but they just had they had Boston as the title team this year and literally forgot about everybody else. They just felt like Boston was so right to win the championship. The championship goes to the teams that play the hardest for it. And pretty much that's the Nuggets and the Heat. The Nuggets and Heat do present a matchup that has a lot of hostility towards it because everybody does remember a few years back when Jokic did hurt one of the Morris twins in a game. I'm thinking it was Markieff that he hurt in the game. And pretty much that really set off a pretty bad mojo between the two teams because really there's a lot of beef on both sides. And then you have Kyle Lowry, who had his little dust up with Aaron Gordon in the bubble. So there's just a lot of things that you say to yourself that's like, this series has all the makings to have some real good theater to it as well, too. It's not going to just be another boring series. And I know that Boston, everybody has to understand, Boston Lakers is a different animal, dude. That's a different animal in itself. That's holy war. So that series alone would have probably been exactly what they wanted in the offices in New York. But with the way that the NBA went this season and as good as the playoffs were this year, having the Heat and the Nuggets is not going to be that big of a loss to anybody. I think that this is the right series to have because these are the teams that played the best to get here. And Miami, we all had Miami losing. And Miami literally laughed at all of us and said, you know what, we already booked the flight to Denver. How can that's overconfident in my opinion. And they still got the damn thing done. So, much props to them, And it's just a really good series that's going to be coming up. And I think a lot of people are going to get to know two really good sports cities as well, too, even though we know a lot about Denver and Miami being around, but they're always bridesmaids in reality, you know what I mean? Or teams that don't make the playoffs. So Thursday, they take center stage, and you're going to see one fan base that's a little loose, is going to be happy to be there. Then you see another fan base in Miami who's used to being here over the last 15 years. They've been here before, and they're expecting to win a championship. So it is what it is at the end of the day. And, first look, Nuggets Heat final. Nobody said that off the top of their head this year that the Nuggets and the Heat would be in the finals because if they did, we would have saw the ticket already. You know how they love to brag about these crystal ball tickets that they have. So it is what it is. We move forward. Let's go ahead and jump into the NFL. And we got the Dolphins. Dolphins are quietly building a team that can possibly run the table. Well, the Dolphins have a lot of things working in their favor right now. They got a coach that seems to be very, very involved in the community right now. He's showing up at every single one of the games for the teams that are in the playoffs right now. He was hitting the drum at the Panthers game. Then he was doing something to pump up the crowd at the Heat game. So he's keeping himself very active. You know what I mean? He's keeping himself very in the mix for this Miami team and keeping things very, loose as usual. Guy kind of reminds me of Morty from Rick and Morty. And the way he coaches. I'm looking for a Rick type that's like kind of channeling this dude a little bit, but he's doing a great job. He's just doing a great job in the fact that he's trying to be something new for the NFL. He's not trying to be the old button up coach that's, football or nothing. He's a guy that says, well, football is our job. Football is something we do, but it's not our lives. So that kind of trickles down to the rest of the team, and the team is really bought into that. They play great football because their coach keeps them loose, and that's one thing that is a very, very rare trait for coaches in the NFL is keeping their squad loose, because a lot of coaches are very uptight, very anal about, the execution, the steps, everything being perfect, very picky, very nitpicky as well, too. So, this guy brings a different edge to it. He keeps it real with his guys. He tells them exactly what they need to do to be better. He doesn't sit there and sugarcoat anything with his guys, and it works. It works out wonders. Then you got a quarterback in Tua who really believes in himself and believes that he can win every single game that he plays in as well. And then he has the trust of the locker room. See, that was the biggest thing. The media didn't trust Tua, but his locker room trusts him. And that's all what really matters at the end of the day. If the locker room trusts you, then you're good. And I think that a lot of people had their wits in and their eyes set up on all the negative things with Tua. They were programmed to try to destroy Tua. Tua overcame all of that. And Tua wound up having an excellent season that produced a playoff berth. Okay. Even though they didn't play that great in the second half of the season, they were absolutely lights out in the first half of the season. They're absolutely lights out in the second half of the season when Tua and Cole got to know each other, when Brian Flores was still their head coach. So there's just a lot of things you look at with Miami. You say to yourself, they're moving forward in the right direction. And I think that this is the biggest reason why. I think Tyreek Hill is a guy that really does change the elements of any game that he's a part of. This guy is absolutely incredible. He's amazing. And he plays the game in a way that, he's the blueprint of the next wide receiver / running back / just I would say the X factor. And I think he's the best X factor we've ever seen in football. He's a guy that really can change the outcome of a game with only 2 or 3 catches, and this is a guy who can literally run for a touchdown at any given moment on a slant pattern, on a stick, whatever you want to throw him out there at. This guy can get past you and get to the end zone. So he represents a very rare group of speed on top of speed receivers, because every receiver has to be fast, but this guy is absolutely a blur. And I've seen it with my actual eyes. I've seen him play in an actual game live, and he's still the fastest human being I've ever seen. Ever. This guy, and he was wearing shoulder pads. That's what the killer part of it is as well, too. So Miami is a team that I truly do feel like they are worth the price of admission right now. Let's keep it real. They are worth the price of admission right now. And I'm over here looking up how much they actually cost how much they would actually cost this year for the Super Bowl prediction and for winning the AFC and winning their division as well, too. Which is very more. I'm telling you right now, the way that you look at this team, the way the defense is set up, it's not even all about the offense with Miami. It's really about the defense and having guys like Bradley Chubb and having Jalen Ramsey now as well, too. They got guys who know exactly what they're doing out there. That's huge. That's big, and that's what is really setting them apart, in my opinion. There's a lot of people that have their favorites. There's a lot of people that have guys that they really, really like. But I truly do feel that this Miami team has a lot of players that people are going to love this year. So that's why I say you don't sit here and and really hand anybody the AFC East. You just don't do that. I think that would be a big mistake because I know that that's what they want to do, but that you can't do that. Buffalo proved to us last year that they're not that good of a team. Okay. And honestly, they're good, but they will fall short. They got the old, they're kind of like how the Minnesota Vikings are. You know what I mean? That, you got a great roster, but for some odd reason, you're going to figure out a way to fall short, and that's the vibe that I've been getting off them for a while. And it seems like we have a lot of some stuff going on here that's out of my control. So I don't want to hold the show up too much. So we'll get those numbers for you later. You know what I mean? I know that they were like a 9.5 at one point. So I'll get those numbers for you in a bit and I'll just tweet it out. But I think that we are on to something very big here in the NFL with the Miami Dolphins. I think that wherever you have the Miami Dolphins at to be in, wherever you have the Miami Dolphins at where winning the East, I think that whatever number you're getting today, just take it. Because I think that this team can win the division. And I also think that Miami could press the issue and actually be a team that finishes as the number one seed as well, too, a dark horse number one seed team. Because when you really look at Miami has a better defense than everybody that they have on top. They really do. To me, they got a better defense than Buffalo when they really, really put their minds to it. They got a better defense than the Jets, even though the Jets have a lot of top picks from the last few years. And then when you look at the Patriots look like they're a team that's in the middle of a rebuild. Like the Patriots aren't really worried about making the playoffs next year. I think they are because that's the standard in Pittsburgh. But truly, I think that they know that they're going to be better with Sam Hartman as their lead quarterback. Now, right now, we got 30-1 for them to make it to the Super Bowl, and then 18-1 to win the AFC. So they got good odds, and I would say that their odds should be shorter than the Jets because, the Jets have Aaron Rodgers, but how healthy is Aaron Rodgers really going to be? That's a big question. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. Let's get into another subject real quick, and that's going to be with the Minnesota Vikings. Can Kirk Cousins get this year's Vikings to the Super Bowl after a good run last season? I say they had a good run last season because you have to understand this team was 9-1 at one point. They actually were the best team in the NFC for a moment there, and they beat the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo as well too in a very hard-fought game. They also beat the New York Jets as well. That was another hard-fought win for this team. Also, we're able to sweep the Packers last year. That was tremendous because literally they swept Aaron Rodgers out of the division. They also had some pretty good games with Detroit last year as well too, who was a team on the up and up. And I know that loss that they had, that game where they beat Detroit, was a big difference in why Detroit didn't even make the playoffs last year. You have. And, everybody's doing what they do to the Bears. But, they were really good against the NFC last year. Straight up. They had a tough time against the Cowboys team that shellacked them. And they really did have a tough time against some of the better teams in the conference. But the thing is, they still played up to par, even though they got put out in the first round. That was a difficult loss. But still, this team is good because they've added Jordan Addison. And they have Justin Jefferson as well, too. And they got Madison, who seems like he's going to be the new starting running back coming into this year. And then they got some other guys there that are going to show who they exactly are as well, too. Can Kirk Cousins get over the hump? Kirk Cousins was paid like a Super Bowl quarterback. Now, can he deliver like a Super Bowl quarterback? That's the biggest question that we all have right now. So I think that when it all comes down to it and when it's all said and done, this will wind up being a very, very tricky team this season. They're 50-1 actually to win the Super Bowl this year. I had that stat up for a reason because I see them as a top 5 sleeper for possibly winning the Super Bowl this year. I say this because they have a veteran quarterback that knows exactly what he's doing. Then they have a premier receiver who's ready to take his place as the number 1 receiver in the NFL. And then they have a young, precocious, confident receiver in Jordan Addison that should be able to make life a little bit easier for Justin Jefferson. But I think the X factor and the key to everything is going to be TJ Hawkinson, to be honest with you. I think TJ Hawkinson is going to be huge for this Minnesota team moving forward. He seemed to be a great addition last year when they brought him in from Detroit, and that should be huge for this team. And this team did go ahead and they did get rid of some good veterans, some all-pro guys, some pro bowlers, things like that, but they replenished with some really good rookies moving forward. So that's where you say, okay, Minnesota still does have a good eye for talent. It's just one thing about you can have a good eye for talent, but it's about putting that talent together. And I think in year 2 with Coach O'Connell, this should be something that's pretty huge for this team moving forward. So this year is a make or break year for Kirk Cousins. Let's keep it real, because if he doesn't show up this year and he doesn't do what he was paid to do, that doesn't necessarily mean he needs to win a Super Bowl, but he does need to win a playoff game or two for them to still have confidence in this guy moving forward, because he's not getting younger. He's only getting older. So we'll see how this season goes. But I truly do think that the Vikings are a team that you do have to make sure you do look over your shoulder for, because everybody's handing the division to the Detroit Lions, but that's not the smartest idea. One of Detroit's top receivers is going to be out the first 6 weeks of the season. All right. And Green Bay is now adjusting to having a quarterback not named Aaron Rodgers, and the jury's still out on what the Bears can be. I think that the Bears probably are on a make or break situation with their coach this year. And I definitely know that they're on a situation where they're saying Justin Fields has to show us something, or we're going to try to figure out how we can either get rid of him or how we can find us a quarterback to throw the ball and he can be the quarterback that runs the ball, whatever. I don't know. But that team is a question mark. Only team that you can say, okay, I really trust this team going into the season is Minnesota, in my opinion. So if I was picking my AFC East champ when I just talked about Miami, I would pick the Dolphins. If I'm picking my NFC Central champ today, North champ today, it would be Minnesota. In a month, it might be a little different because we'll have some more news coming out and everything like that. But right now, today, those two present the best value in those divisions, and they present great value for teams that you might have in the wild card spot to make it to the Super Bowl. So with that, we'll go ahead and take our first break, and when I get back, we're going to jump into some baseball. We have ourselves Blue Crew Daily, and then we have our MLB Tuesday Night. So you guys stay tuned. This is the premier sports betting show, the PrimeTime Angles, with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the PrimeTime Capper.
Good News Only Racing Club, led by the legendary Doug O'Neill, the trainer of 2 Kentucky Derby winners and I'll Have Another and Nyquist. Also trained 2-time Breeders' Cup champ Golden Sense, who are just a part of a long list of thoroughbred champions trained by Doug O'Neill. The Good News Only Racing Club has a young core of horses to look out for in Dennis's Celery, Irish Heatwave, and Notre Dame, just to name a few. Win the day every day with the Good News Only Racing Club, a proud sponsor of the NFL Bet Exchange.
From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.
Tune into Big Wave Boxing every week with a brand new guest with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the PrimeTime Capper, getting the best boxing stories, best boxing angles, and the truth when it all comes down to this week's signings. Tune in to Big Wave Boxing on the Prime Wave Media channel on YouTube.
All right, we're back with the premier sports betting show, the PrimeTime Angles, with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the PrimeTime Capper. Let's go ahead and jump into this Blue Crew Daily. We got the Dodgers, a funny bunch, man. That's all I can say is that the Dodgers last night, they got down 1-0 for a second, and then they went ahead and said, you know what, let's just go ahead and go off real quick in the fifth inning and don't worry, we'll wrap this thing up pretty quickly. And that's exactly what they went ahead and did. They wound up winning the game 6-1. So that was huge for the Dodgers yesterday, even though, the Nats are seen as a team that's kind of lowly right now, but that team is really good, in my opinion, to be honest with you. I think that they have a lot of young talent. And like I said before, I thought they might be 2 years away. They may be a year away now because they have a lot of guys that are playing really good baseball at this point. So that was huge yesterday for that Nats team, for the Dodgers to beat up on the Nats a little bit, to kind of put themselves in a position to show them that, you know what, we know that you guys are good and we're going to take you really seriously tonight. Because if we don't, we'll wind up losing this game, and we're not going to lose this game. Bobby Miller, again, had another lights-out performance. Bobby Miller wound up pitching his absolute butt off yesterday. He only struck out 4, but he only gave up 1 run as well, too. And he didn't give up many hits either yesterday. So that was really good on Bobby's end. And I think that the confidence is building by the game. But he was really good yesterday. I liked what I saw yesterday. I know that a lot of people have this idea that, he's a rookie, they kind of, the training wheels aren't off or anything. But I think that Dave Roberts has done a good job. The guy has a 1.64 ERA, and he's been a part of the last 2 games. He's pitched 11 innings. In those 11 innings, he's allowed 8 hits. He struck out 9. So he has some really good traits to him. He only gave up 2 runs in these two outings as well, too, and he only walked 2. So he's doing a good job, in my opinion, over this little sample size of work, and he's being what he was supposed to be, the Dodgers' top prospect. Now, a Dodger young player that's kind of worrying me right now is going to be my man James Outman. James Outman has played lights out baseball in April, but he's kind of fell off a little bit here in May. We kind of felt like that would be an occurrence that could happen. But, he has 9 home runs on the season, but he hasn't hit a home run since May 17th. He has 29 RBIs as well, too, but he did get himself an RBI last night. That was good. He got a hit because he was hitless for about 10 days. And then he was able to get it back together last night. He got himself a hit, and he actually knocked in a runner last night, and he stole a base. So that's pretty good, but we got to do better because he has a lot of strikeouts this year as well, too. He struck out 69 times, and literally that's like almost half of his plate appearances right there where he's striking out. So he has to, they have to tighten that up. He has to get a better eye, and he has to start working these walks a little bit better, because I don't like to see 69 strikeouts over 19 walks. You know what I mean? Like, literally, you're being too aggressive. And I think that's something that he's going to have to really work on. But yesterday was a really good game for the Dodgers. The Dodgers are doing a lot of good things moving forward. They're taking their time. The Dodgers aren't worried about having 15-game winning streaks and being so far ahead of the groups and blah, 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 blah. The Dodgers are just into winning one game at a time, taking it one game at a time. And that's going to really help this Dodger team moving forward. So I really like a lot of the things that we have moving forward. So pretty much we have ourselves a very good, very, very good group here we have a very good group here in the Dodgers, and the Dodgers look to try to get this win tonight. Tony Gosselin's back on the mound. He's pitched very well since he's came back, and he's been pitching really, really good the last few starts as well. You do go against kind of a somewhat starter in the Nats that's not that much of a threat, but still it's baseball. So you can't just, write the guy off because those are the guys that will kill you. Jake Irvin, 5-32. He could be a lot better. 19 strikeouts over 16 walks. So you look at it, he's not a high volume guy when it comes to striking people out. He's only been back for 5 games as well, too. He got good size, though. He's 6'6", 230. You look at that and say, man, this guy should be much better. But it takes time sometimes. Last outing was probably his best outing of the season. Pretty much because he went 4 innings. He struck out 4, but he walked 4, and then he gave 2 runs in that. But prior to that, his 2 starts before that, he had only went 6 in he only had went 7 innings literally in those 2 combined, and gave up 12 runs and also gave 11 hits in both of those games. Struck out 7 though and walked 5, but still he was getting hit. So the Dodgers are that same type of team, like the Mets and the Tigers with some offense. So I do like the Dodgers today for the 1.5 run line today. And as we can see, Nephew is chiming in and he's saying that McKellen will get you 5.5 Ks today. So if McKellen gets 6 Ks today, then you guys can go ahead and send Nephew the Cash App tip that he totally deserves for giving you that great gem of a game, because McKellen 5.5 strikeouts is damn near auto bet in my opinion. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. But the Dodgers today at the stadium, 7:00 tonight, going against the Nationals. Let's see how it goes. Let's see how it shakes out. Dodgers looking to go ahead and submit themselves and win this series before they got their matinee game tomorrow against the Nats at the stadium. So with that, let's go ahead and jump into MLB Monday Night. MLB Monday Night, we have ourselves we got a full schedule of games. I only have a few that I'm going to talk about. The game that I feel is the best bet of the day, the dog bet of the day, and the primetime game of the day. So pretty much that's how we have it for Tuesday night, because I could sit here for 2 hours talking about all the baseball games, but we only need to talk about the ones that really, really move the needle and have pretty much bets there that should be able to cash out. So let's see what I got for you guys in the bag tonight. All right, up first we have the Padres and the Marlins. Padres coming into this game 24-29. Marlins are 28-26. Very surprised with the Padres. The Padres were supposed to be a better team, but who told you that they was going to have a slow start? I did. So pretty much, yeah, that wound up happening. And you know what? And real quick, in breaking news, we have Bill McGovern has just passed away after battling cancer. He was actually hired by UCLA back in 2022, but could not take the job because he was battling cancer at the time. So, yeah, that's pretty sad. And also in other news, the Orioles have just signed former Yankee Aaron Hicks. Aaron Hicks was actually like DFA'd or something like that, but they sent him over to Baltimore. They got a little something for him. I think they got some cash back for him, so we'll see how it goes. Okay, but let me get back to it. Padres, absolutely. I told you guys what it was going to be with the Padres. Slow start, 24-29. They are just now getting everybody back somewhat, but this is a team that's probably not going to get really good until they make their trade. And I think Tatis will be a big part of that trade today, is that a big part of that trade for this team as well. But let's get down to the gist of the game. The Padres have one of their better pitchers on the mound tonight, in my opinion, and Ryan Weathers. Weathers has been good. Well, especially in the last two, especially in these few games, especially in the first few games of the season, he was really, really good. But the last two, he got a little shellacked. You know what I mean? Playing against the Dodgers had their way with them. Nationals had their way with him a little bit as well too. So he bounces back today, hopefully against a very good Marlins team at this moment. I think that those games where he's had more than an inning, he was really good in his first 5 starts. The last 2, they were shaky, but I think today though he can make up for it. He can have a big day today, and I think that's very possible as well too. Marlins got Sandy Alcantara on the mound. Alcantara actually is struggling this year. He's 2-5 this season, and he's had games where he hasn't kept things together. Like, okay, one game he gave up 9 runs. That was against Philadelphia. Another game he gave up 6 runs. That was against Cincinnati. He gave up 5 runs against Arizona. This is very uncommon of Alan Carter, but Alan Carter wasn't getting any run support as well too. And most of these first starts that he had this season, the guy's 2-5 and was the former Cy Young. So it happens, you know what I mean? Especially with these guys that have really good seasons on bad teams, then they come back around and that bad team starts being way too reliant on that pitcher. So it winds up where the pitcher's numbers start to suffer because he's not getting any run support. And that's exactly what's going on with Sandy Alcantara. So what I feel like today, I feel like we can go ahead and take this struggling Padres team, circle them up because they need themselves a good little team win today. And I like them with the plus 115 as our dog of the day. They were plus 120, but before I could go ahead and mark it down, they had shifted to 115. I really went back and forth to say, okay, are they presenting enough value for me to say they're a dog? They're a good dog today, because I like my dogs when I give them out to you guys at plus 120 or better, because it's just better value. You know what I mean? What's the difference between plus 115 and plus 120? It's a little bit of a difference, but plus 120 is a good number to pick on when you're dealing with the dogs. So we move forward. Let's go ahead and talk about our next, which is going to be the Brewers and the Blue Jays. This is going to be the primetime game of the day. And the Brewers have Adrian Hauser pitching today, while you have Yasushi Kikuchi pitching for the Blue Jays today, the former Mariners. So this game really does present a very good under the radar pitching matchup, because Kikuchi has been really good in most of his games. He's 5-2 this season. Yeah, they did lose. He did lose last time out. They went against Tampa Bay, wound up giving up 5 runs that day, struck out 5 over 5 innings as well, gave up 8 hits. So he wasn't at his best, but it seems like it's been every other game where he'll have a really good start, and then the next game he'll have a really bad start. I'm looking at his last 5 starts, and that's exactly how it went. He had a start where he gave up 9 hits and 5 runs. Then the next start he comes back, he gives up 4 hits and no runs. Then the next start he comes back, he gives up 9 hits and 5 runs. Then the next start he comes back, he gives up 3 runs and 3 hits. And then the next start he comes back, he gives up 8 hits and 5 runs. So when you look at it, you say to yourself, okay, he's been struggling a little bit here in these last 5 games, but it seems like he's doing better in every other game. And that's exactly how this bet should work tonight. Now, Hauser, on the other hand, is still getting comfortable. This is only his 4th start back. Now, he's 1-0. He finally got himself a win when they beat Houston last week. But, the games prior to that, they were no decisions for him because, pretty much he didn't get the run support he should be getting. Now, he struggled. Only team he kind of struggled against was Kansas City. He kind of struggled against San Francisco as well, too. But these last 2 offerings have been really good. He kind of shut down Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay only got 4 hits on him and got no runs, and he struck out 4, only walked 1. Then came back around, did the same exact thing to Houston, but he only gave 2 hits to Houston, struck out 3, walked 1. Now his ERA is at 2.25. So this game, to me, really does present, like I said before, an under-the-radar pitching matchup. So a pitcher's duel. So where I'm going with this one is I like the under 9 with the Brewers and the Blue Jays today. I know it looks a little crazy because the way Kikuchi's been getting hits recently, but I think today he'll tighten up, and I think that you'll have Hauser, who's going to be good today as well, too. So I see the under 9 being a very good play for the primetime play of the day. And then we have the best bet of the day. That's going to be the Angels and the White Sox. This is going to be a really good one because you got two teams that are kind of going in the same direction right now. You got an Angels team that's 29-26. You got a White Sox team that's 22-34. I just say that they're kind of going in the same direction right now because both these teams are at the bottom of their divisions. When you look at the White Sox, they're in fourth. When you look at the Angels, they're pretty much in a log jam for third and fourth, but they're still 3 games behind the Astros right now to solidify themselves in the second hole as well, too. And they're only 6 games behind the Rangers as well, too. While you have a White Sox team that's only 7 games behind Minnesota. But when you look at their record, they're 22-34. They're going to have to start picking up the pace a little bit on winning this season because they've struggled. Now, when you look at this game is going to be one that has 2 pitchers that are kind of going through the motions right now. You got Anderson, who got paid a good amount of money to come over from the Dodgers, and he has 2 wins on the year. He's been in a lot of no decisions as well. Like, he did get a decision his first outing against the A's, and then he didn't get a decision, wasn't a part of the decision until the last game, which was on May 25th. Now, when you look at his numbers, he did have a little point to where he was getting kind of beat up there. He had a point where he had 3 straight starts where he absolutely was terrible. He gave up 17 runs. He gave up 22 hits, and he only struck out 7 and walked 6 over that period of time. So after that, he kind of refined some things a little bit, and the mechanics have been a lot better. He hasn't given up more than 3 runs in his last 3 out of 5 starts, and in his other starts, he only gave up a run. So pretty much what he does is he eats up innings. So don't let his ERA fool you because he's pitching much better right now. Now, Giolito was a guy that was big time a few years back. He struggled a bit. He struggled game 1, but he's been better since that point. He hasn't really struggled since then. He hasn't had a game where he gave up more than 7 hits after giving up 12 hits on the opening day. He had a great game against Philadelphia this year where he actually pitched 6 hitless innings to be exact. And then he came back around, got kind of beat up by Tampa Bay a little bit, then put Tampa Bay in their place. I think that his last time out, he struggled just a little bit because he only went 3 2/3, but Detroit had something for him that day, and I think today is going to be a little different. So how do I have this one shaping up? I actually have this one shaping up to where this game actually goes over. I feel like both these guys are going to get hit a little bit today, and from seeing their numbers, it seems like that's what's going to happen. So that's where I'm going with that one. We're going to take the over 9 in this spot, and that's going to be the Angels and the White Sox. So with that, we're going to go ahead and take another quick commercial break, and when I get back, we will jump into the Talkin Tickets. So you guys stay tuned. This is the premier sports betting show, the Primetime Angles, with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper.
Now you and your friends can compete in the sport of kings and win big with Stable Duel. Get the app, pick your horses, and get in on the thrill of horse racing with daily games competing against other players. Bring home the glory and the cash, and move up the annual leaderboard while you leave your competition in the dust. Get in the game with Stable Duel. Play, race, win.
Good News Only Racing Club, led by the legendary Doug O'Neill, the trainer of 2 Kentucky Derby winners and I'll Have Another and Nyquist. Also trained 2-time Breeders' Cup champ Golden Sense, who are just a part of a long list of thoroughbred champions trained by Doug O'Neill. The Good News Only Racing Club has a young core of horses to look out for in Dennis's Celery, Irish Heatwave, and Notre Dame, just to name a few. Win the day every day with the Good News Only Racing Club, a proud sponsor of the NFL Bet Exchange.
All right, here we are. Let's go ahead and jump into this, and let's get ourselves situated right now with Talkin Tickets, and we have ourselves some very good tickets today, in my opinion. Let's go ahead and jump into our first group, which is going to be the pick six, the primetime pick six. Pretty much today we got a low number, 38-1, just like yesterday. Kind of the number wasn't too huge, but 38-1 is still a good number to have. So we do have the Padres as the dog of the day, plus 115. We also have the Guardians, who are going to be on the road against the Orioles. We're taking them with the minus 165. Cal Contrail going against Kyle Gibson today. That should be a pretty good pitching matchup as well too. But I think that the Guardians do keep this thing pretty close. So let's see how it goes. Let's see how it shakes out. And then we have the under 9 with the Brewers and the Blue Jays in the primetime game of the day. I think that this is probably one of the better games of the day and one of the better series of this week as well too. So we'll see how this one shapes up and checks out, and we'll go from there. And then we got the Mets tonight at home at Citi Field going against the Phillies, the rival. Let's go ahead and circle them for the minus 135 tonight. I think that should be money for us because Ranger Torres is not that good. Even though the line kind of showing up to where it's kind of on a 50-50 split, I still think the Mets will be too much for them tonight. So I do like them with the minus 135. And then we have the Rays with the minus 115. This should be another really good play as well too. They're on the road tonight. They beat, and yesterday I had the Cubs with Stroman as well too. Stroman, shout out to Marcus Stroman. I keep telling you guys, these guys are really good pitchers. You guys got to listen to Pop when he's telling you who these really good pitchers are, because Stroman had a one-hit shutout yesterday, and it's funny because they don't even let pitchers do that anymore. But he was so good yesterday that they couldn't deny him of that. So he wound up getting his team old school 1-0 victory where the pitcher took care of all the business, where the pitcher absolutely dominated the lineup that was in front of him. So, the Cubs, that should give them some motivation moving forward as well, too. But today, the Rays are going to have their ace on the mound, and Shane McKellen, and I think that they're going to absolutely take the Cubs to the woodshed tonight. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. But minus 1.5 run line, minus 115 to the Rays. And then we have the Angels and the White Sox at they always say it's not called Comiskey anymore, but I'm going to call it Comiskey Park because I don't care. So pretty much tonight over at New Comiskey, they're going to go ahead and try to get themselves we're going to try to get this over bet done. So we have the over 9, Angels and White Sox. Let's see how it goes. Let's see how it shakes out. 38-1 ticket, and we move forward from there. We have ourselves a 13-1 ticket, though, for the nightcap late pick 4, bailout pick 4. We got the Rockies at plus 1.5 with even money. Then we have the Yankees plus 115 tonight against the Mariners. I'm trusting Nestor Cortez, the mustache, to get us home, even though he does kind of remind me of Mario Brothers, the live action version. Kind of got that Bob Hoskins feel to him. So, yeah, let's hope for a super Nestor to go ahead and get us a good win tonight with the plus 115. And then we have the under 8.5 with the Pirates and the Giants tonight. And one of the more under the radar games, but it's a very important game for these two teams because you have a Pirates team that's in second place that's not too far out from the Brewers. And then you have a Giants team that's in third place that's not too far out from the Diamondbacks, who are in second place in the West because they ain't catching the Dodgers. We all know that. So pretty much that's what we have under 8.5 with the Pirates and the Giants. And then I think the Dodgers are probably going to be in what should probably be a very strong bet for mostly everybody, even though it's going to be an overplay and an oversight in a sense. I still think that the Dodgers should be able to really be able to handle the Nationals tonight for sure. So let's see how it goes. Let's see how it shakes out. We move forward from there. All right, let's go ahead. We got our first WNBA plays for the year. I'm going to go with the Chicago Sky tonight in that spot that they have against a very good both these teams are kind of like the same. The Dream are a bit better now because it's been a few years where that team has been absolutely awful. So now they're much better. And so pretty much plus 140 is going to be the play tonight. I think that the champions from a few years back, not too far removed. Step it up tonight, get themselves a very good win. Then we have the Fever and the Sun tonight as well, too. I like the under 57 in this spot. 157 in this spot. I think that this winds up happening because the Sun are a big favorite tonight going against the lowly Indiana Fever. It's like this team ain't never good. So pretty much the Fever probably will try to keep things close with this game tonight, but I truly do feel like this game goes well under, to be dead honest with you guys. And then we have the Lynx and the Wings tonight. We have Minnesota and Dallas going at it. So pretty much I like the over 169. I see a lot of scoring going on in that game tonight. And then the Storm have a big spread at home. I know that they're going against the New York Liberty, but let's just look back a few years ago when the New York Liberty were one of the worst teams in the league and the Storm were one of the best teams in the league. And it was in reverse on how this line worked. And you know what happened that day? The Liberty probably had one of their better games of the season. So I'm going to go with the old adage that the bigger the spread, the better. And I think tonight that spread is going to be very, very helpful because we're on the home team with a plus 14.5. So let's see how it goes. Let's see how it shakes out. We move forward from there. All right, so pretty much that's going to be a wrap on another show. I want to thank you guys very much for tuning in today. I'll be back tomorrow. I don't know if I'll be on Jeff's show. He hasn't hit me up yet, but maybe I'll be on Jeff's show tomorrow. But I know I'll be on my show tomorrow. I'll be back tomorrow at noon, ready to roll. And if you guys want to, you guys can follow along with me right now as I play Presque Downs out in beautiful Erie, Pennsylvania. And yeah, I'm over here tweeting that out for you guys and everything right now. And I also have Talkin Tickets tweeted out for you guys in a moment as well too, for people that need to have the list and kind of missed it and are kind of lazy to look at a replay and all that stuff, because you know how everybody kind of wants you just to do things for them. You know what I mean? But it's all good. I love doing it. So it's not a problem. So pretty much I want to thank everybody who tuned in today. And if you did tune in today, make sure you retweet, you share, you do what you got to do, man. You retweet, share, love it, leave it, whatever you want to do with it. But make sure that you help and promote this show as well, too, because without you, there is no me. So as I always like to say, bet with your head, not with your heart. The movement is moving. And this is the premier sports betting show, the PrimeTime Angles, with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the PrimeTime Capper. And I am gone.
From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.